the art of the relationship. Super, super important that we in culture relationship the best way we can right off the bat too. Okay, so all what you have to remember is all of these elements that we're going over today really do come together as a whole unit. Okay, the open, the relationship, how you position yourself, and then closing the sale and closing a call or webinar, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really matter. It applies pretty much in all aspects. Okay, but by far, I think relationship building is is really key when it comes to getting off to a good start. Okay, um, just like comfort level, we want to get off to the get off on the right foot right away. All right, and people like to tell their story. People like to talk. All right, and it's really important that we listen. Okay, go let them go through their introduction. Okay, ask them, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me something about you. All right, and be prepared for what you might hear, but sometimes it's some pretty crazy stories that you get. But the whole point is shut up and listen. Okay, just close your trap, shut up and let them talk. Okay, and however long that takes, let it take. Okay, but shut your mouth and just listen to what people have to say. All right. Don't interrupt them. Don't say anything. The old saying goes, the first one to talk loses. Okay, in sales. So when you're closing a sale, I'm kind of skipping ahead here, but just to make this point, the shut up and listen. But if you close a sale and you really put that emphasis on there is, well, hey, let's get started today, and let's get you off and running. Shut up, because the first one that talks loses. All right, period. So let them comment back. It's the same way with their introduction. Don't interrupt them and say, oh, great, and they only got to tell half their story. Okay, because that relationship part of it is going to make a pretty big difference. Okay, let them blab on that story as long as it takes. Okay, because sometimes people, they won't tell you a whole lot, and that's okay because they're just not fully ready to do that. But you let them say their piece. I can tell you from experience that sometimes when I ask people, tell me your story. Tell me what, tell me what drove you here. What got you here today? Some people will go on a solid diatribe of their life story, and that's really cool because you can learn a lot from that. Okay, you can learn how much they pay attention to detail. There's a lot of little key indicators that you can glean just from how much they tell you. Okay, of how much trust factor you have at that point. Okay, if you get just a short 10-second little blurb, they're not really all that comfortable with you at that point, and maybe your open wasn't that great. Okay, and we all have those experiences where sometimes our opening isn't the best, or there was some weird technical difficulty right up front in the call, and it just like killed the momentum of the call right off the bat, and maybe you just didn't quite recover from that as well as you could have. I think that happens to everybody every now and then, and from that point though is where you can probe at that point. Okay, so if they're just really don't want to share a lot with you, maybe what they did share is, oh, I have, I'm a structural engineer. I have a wife and 2 kids. And yeah, I just hate my job. And that's all you get. It's all right to probe. Oh, well, I have 2 kids too. Or I have a son. My son's 13 years old. How old's yours? A son or a daughter? And they say son. Well, great. How old is he? And now you're starting that relationship. Okay? And that in their story, then you can kind of pull out what their, what the why is at that point. Because if they feel like they're really starting to connect with you, you can now reinforce that why, okay, within their story. All right. So a question could be, well, what's your why? Why are you here? What is it you're here to accomplish? And I want to be a part of that. It's super awesome. It's motivating to be a part of that with somebody. So reinforce that why, because at the end of the day, I'll tell you what, almost all of our whys are the same, pretty much, with the exception of, some really far right or far left things, but everybody kind of wants the same thing, all right? That financial freedom, time freedom, all those things, those are really a lot of the whys. And that's super important. Some will have whys that are charity related or whatever. And then that's where you can come in and share some of yours too. Okay. Like for me, for example, one of my whys is to support wounded warriors. I'm a wounded warrior myself. So, I spent 23 years in the military, and, it's important for me as a retired military guy to help others that are going through a lot of struggles in life. For instance, I run a program right here in Colorado to pull veterans off the streets. And, that's part of my why I do what I do, and why I have really taken control of my own life. And I share some of that stuff if it makes sense, okay? If it ties in, and I call it interconnecting content, okay? So we're able to really interconnect content to relate with their story, because our stories are very, very similar at the end of the day, okay? And this is really where you tell them your story, okay? Tell them your story and tell them your why, okay? Why am I doing this, okay? What are the things that drive me every day, okay? What's my story, okay? I don't necessarily have a story that's a boo-hoo story, okay? But my wife, she followed me around in the military for 20 plus years, and we ran a company separate on the side, and we did that together. But the point being there is, while I was gone off deployed somewhere in the world, she was there with the kids, and she was running the company. I wasn't there. So, people resonate with that. So tell your story and give your why too, because it just gives them something to connect to. All right. And that really is, at the end of the day, that's the art of the relationship. Okay. Is people buy people, they don't buy things. Okay. People buy people, they don't buy things. Remember that. We're not selling coffee cups. Okay. If you're selling some kind of a, I call it selling relationships. Okay. Because we're not selling coffee cups or mugs or something that's tangible. Right. I recruited for the Army for 4 years. And I recruited for the Army right during the surge in Afghanistan, right when we were putting the most troops on the ground. Now, trying to explain to a 17-year-old kid and their parents, why they should join the military and for sure go to war. That was pretty difficult. Okay. But you know what? Those families didn't make the decisions for one, their kids to join the military or for the person to join the military. They didn't do it because of the military as an institution. They did it because I built that relationship. Okay? It's no different here. All right? That is an intangible product. Okay? You cannot touch freedom. All right? Just like here, or any business that revolves around digital type product, or advertising, traffic, so on and so forth. That's not something that's touchable. Okay, so if we build that and culture that relationship right up front, and they know that it's part of what we do, all right. I mean, that's the money right there. Okay, so in culture that relationship, make them feel like they can do it. Okay, that's another big part of it. Okay, if you make people feel like they can do whatever they set their mind to do, that's just money. It's huge. That's a huge thing. And those are the things we should be enculturing in our clients. Okay, is that, you know what, you can do this. All right, you got this. There again, that's that energy, high energy. You got to bring high energy to it. Okay, high energy. Get them excited. All right, get them excited. Because if you're excited, it's going to excite them, and then multiplying your stories together and connecting those stories is huge. Okay, there's not one client that I've ever worked with where I couldn't connect some kind of likeness to. Okay, whether it be, they really started this business because of family, to support family. Well, me too. I think that's pretty much everybody. Or selective philanthropy. That's what I call it. I do a lot of selective philanthropy. I'm not really a philanthropist, but I do selective philanthropy. So I kind of choose what I'm going to do for, volunteer work, so on and so forth. And people hear that kind of stuff, that you volunteer your time or whatever, because a lot of people out there in the world volunteer their time. All right, so it's how you connect your story in with them, and they go, oh yeah, wow, that's awesome. We're a lot alike. Well, that's great when people can connect with you in that way. Okay, so really enculturing that relationship after that first open is super important. And if you really do that right and connect your story in with their story, and most of all, when they're doing their introduction, shut up. Okay, just like I said, shut your mouth and listen. Don't interrupt. Don't interject. Shut up and let that go on as long as it's going to take. Okay, and then you can talk. Okay, then tell them your story, your why. Connect all that together. Make them feel really good about the decision that they've made and that they can do it. They can accomplish it. Okay, and they can. Any of them can, but they have to be in the right mindset to do it too. Okay, so take this piece that we just talked about and apply it. You'll get instant results from it. Okay, guaranteed you'll get instant results just by implementing just what we just talked about right here, because it makes the relationship grow very quickly. All right, guys, stay tuned. Be right back, and we'll talk about the art of positioning.